Welcome, everybody. You know, in Swiss German, or in Germany, we call it Feierabend, but you're still here, so that's wonderful. There will be apéro afterwards. Before that, we will have a session on AI and the future factory. And we have great panelists with us today. We're going to talk about three things. What's the most promising use cases for AI today? What's the next big thing for AI in manufacturing? And finally, what's the role of people? My name is Torbjørn Netland. I'm a professor for production and operations management at ETH Zurich. And I also want to start to thank the AI House for moderating and setting up this session. The panelists, we have Erik Enselme from the World Economic Forum. Yeah, come on, guys. Yeah. Alexandra Brintrup from University of Cambridge, Cambridge University. Gunter Beitinger from Siemens. And Julian Senoner from EthonAI. So it's cold outside. It's actually quite warm in here, but I thought we can make it even warmer. Is the boss present here? Is the boss present here? The boss? Is the boss here? Yeah, is the boss here? Is the boss here? Yes. What is the boss? Maybe everybody else wonder about it. It's actually a boss. With 50 senior leaders and professors wearing badges like this today. And they are here not just for this session, but for a full session at ETH Zurich tomorrow, talking about AI in manufacturing. And we did a survey with these industry leaders. We asked basically a few questions. And one of the first was, how important do you think AI is for the future competitiveness in manufacturing? What do you think they said? Very important. Very important. Okay. But we also asked, how much do you think your company do in AI compared to your competitors? And they said, average. And the final question was, how much do you feel you know about AI? You know what they say? Nothing. Well, interestingly, you know, we have overconfidence bias, most of us. We think we're better drivers than the average driver. When it comes to AI in manufacturing, there seems to be underconfidence bias. So the good thing is that you don't have to worry. We're all as new to this as everybody else. And maybe this session can make us a little bit smarter when it comes to AI in manufacturing. Now I want to introduce the panelists a little bit so they can get to do most of the speaking afterwards. Erik here, he's an executive fellow of the Center of Advanced Manufacturing Supply Chain at the World Economic Forum. But he has a long career behind him. He worked 28 years, almost 29, in Procter & Gamble, and he's seen it all. Okay? He tried to lead the digital transformation in the whole company, one of the leading companies in the world. Before that, he was a shift operation leader on a 1,400-ton 97 Siemens warship for the French Marine. So we're in safe hands. Okay. Alexandra Brintrup, she's a professor of digital manufacturing at IFM, University of Cambridge. And she's leading the Supply Chain Artificial Intelligence Lab. She's also a fellow of Darwin College. So I wonder what Darwin would say about AI. She has a PhD in artificial intelligence from Cranfield University. She's worked in ABN AMRO Bank. She worked in University of Oxford, Cranfield University. She's advised policymakers. She's advised Boeing, Rolls-Royce, Jaguar, Land Rover, Suzuki, and Procter & Gamble. So there you see. We will hear more from Alexandra afterwards. Gunter Beitinger, he's Senior Vice President for Manufacturing and Factory Digitalization in Siemens. He has at least, I think, 24 years in Siemens in various roles. Actually, he has a PhD, and then he did a postdoc, and for some strange reason, he decided to leave academia and go to Enselme. Well, we all make mistakes, but he's here today. Was a joke. Was a joke. And finally, Julian Senoner, I know personally, he was my doctoral student, and it seems like he just graduated. But now he's employing 25 people in Zurich. Okay, so he's a startup, he's an entrepreneur, started this with Bernhard Kratzwald, who's also here today. And he's trying to change what we think is mostly a conservative manufacturing world, and we hear a little bit about that today. He's won multiple awards. To not embarrass you, I'm not going to list all of them. But you can wonder how old is he, because with this CV, he should be very old. But he won also the Forbes 30 under 30 not long time ago. So that says something about your age and contributions. So today he's going to introduce a new top class. So now let's get to it. And then we're going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to ask rapid fire questions. And the panelists are only allowed to answer one word. I know, Eric, you want to use more words. It's OK for you. And then after they answer, all the audience, please say your answer. OK? It's usually yes or no, or you will figure it out. You're all smart people. OK, it's winter outside, but maybe AI has never seen such a summer. Is this time different, or is it a hype? Let's start. Julian.
Different.
Gunter. Oh, you have to be prepared.
42.
42, OK. Alexandra.
Summer.
It's the summer, so it's different.
Different.
OK. Eric?
Definitely different.
It's different. Audience? Different. Oh, I heard hype as well. Thank you. Some people say hype. OK, next question. Elon Musk and others have raised concerns that AI poses existential threat to human beings. Huh? But others, like Mark Zuckerberg, he thinks it's much more positive. It's here to help us. Who do you side with? Musk or Zuckerberg? Eric?
Both.
Alexandra?
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg? OK.
Humanity threats humanity.
Oh, my God. It was pretty simple rules, but OK. You
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg, OK. Musk or Zuckerberg?
Zuckerberg.
That was very clear. Ellen? Go. OK. Will AI be the critical factor, okay, for separating global manufacturing leaders from the rest? Is that the critical factor? Julian?
No.
Gunter?
Probably.
Alexandra?
One of the critical factors.
Eric?
Critical, not the critical.
OK, so no. Audience, yes or no? No. I heard clearly no way. So wonderful. OK. Are most manufacturers ready to benefit from AI already today? Eric?
Unfortunately, no.
Alexandra?
No.
No.
Yes.
Whoa! And audience? Audience? Yes? No? Yes, no? OK. Last question before we go into a little bit of more detail. In manufacturing, does AI mean awaiting implementation or already implemented? Should we, Alexandra?
Awaiting implementation.
Awaiting?
Under construction.
Under construction?
Mostly awaiting.
Oh, they're bending the rules. OK, Eric?
Being implemented.
Being implemented. None of you answered. I didn't. And you already implemented or awaiting implementation? Awaiting. That was very clear. Well, you will hear today about the company that actually implemented quite a few of these things. OK, so now I'll go into the first session. And it's about where is AI today. And you're saying it's awaiting. Well, let's hear from the expert. Gunter. Gunter. A few weeks ago, you commented on LinkedIn, and I checked. Your World Economic Forum digital lighthouses that you have in Amberg and in Chengdu already use AI in production with amazing impact.
Yes.
You said. Well, tell us, what exactly do you do?
The impact we are generating mostly on the quality aspect. So, of course, we have different areas where we are already using AI. So there's predictive maintenance, also in engineering. But the most impact we generated in the quality field. if you can assume that your outcome of a product, you're producing programmable logical controllers, and during the printed circuit board production, if you can assume that the quality of your product depends on the process parameters, then you can assume that there is a pattern where you can really decide that this product is good. And so we are looking for this pattern. And then it turns around a little bit the quality inspection. And normally, by tradition, quality looks for the bad parts, for the failures. So we are looking for the good parts. And this is we are applying this, for example, in the X-ray inspection. X-ray is critical for parts which are used in critical environments. So we need to inspect all them by 100%. And now with this AI, we could reduce the inspection rate already by 30%. So we are reducing then 30% of the 100%. And that's a great impact if you can imagine, if you can reduce the effort in testing.
That was very clear. So the audience is wrong. It's already implemented. Okay? At least for that single user. Anything else? You talked about quality in your factories.
Now, there are many other fields in quality. During the production of printed circuit boards, you have to deal with so-called pseudo errors, which are related to the sharpness of your quality inspection. So if you have the barriers, or you get so-called pseudo failures, and this needs to be rechecked by people, by quality inspectors, and then they confirm this is not a mistake, it is just an outliner. And this, we are now setting also a visual inspection on top of it. Oh. So this has not been done anymore by people. So it also runs through the AOI.
Have you built this software yourself? Is it Siemens software?
Yes. Oh. Yes. And also the X-ray case, we are doing this with our own people. I mean, we in Siemens, we maybe are luckily compared to other companies, we have in total 1,700 AI experts, and of course they are willing to support us by the implementation in our factories.
Very good, thanks. I'll ask Eric then, because with all your experience from Procter & Gamble, how does this look like in that industry and in your previous company?
I'll probably tap into two parts of my experience, a bit of P&G and what I'm trying to help now with the World Economic Forum. So at P&G, I would actually join those who said that it's being implemented, because if I actually tap into the knowledge of this audience, and I'm going to call out someone, Professor Jay Lee, who is here today from University of Maryland. Jay has been actually, putting a post that says the same thing as what I have seen for more than 20 years. We've actually used some form of AI concretely in organization, including at P&G, particularly on computer vision, where indeed the first type of application was on quality, high-speed line. You really need to quickly detect some patterns and you improve the yield. Moving on the World Economic Forum initiative, which I hope you have heard about, which is called the Global Lighthouse Network, which has been established in 2017, which aims to accelerate the adoption of the fourth industry revolution. We are now having 153 factories that have been recognized as lighthouse for the level of benefit of output, whether that's business, process, people-oriented. And out of these 153 lighthouses, we just celebrated actually the newcomers 2 days ago. 80% of them are actually actively using AI right now. I could go on, but I like to enable you to actually keep on learning. Google Global Lighthouse Network, there is a digital repository. You will find use cases. There are more than 100 use cases accessible to you that will go beyond what I just explained. You will see one of the latest, for instance, from Agilent. If you know Agilent, it's a medical device company. They have a leading lighthouse based in Germany, where they have indeed connected with sensors through their MES, manufacturing execution system, with computer vision, and they have improved the yield from a quality point of view, defect, by 40 to 50%. I think the logic here of the equation is how do you connect the precision of artificial intelligence with the human creativity? And this is really where sky is the limit. and we continue to be blown away year on year by the practical application. Last insights, we were very much seeing more like process step application, right? So you have identified a loss area, you go after that with AI. We see more and more those early adopters who are able to connect the dots and to try to actually have an entire process chain run under AI, moving to the lights off type of operation in some factories.
Thank you so much. So you talk about 155 use cases, and all these companies are actually using AI today.
In one way or another, which makes it, you know, the diversity makes it so much richer for all of us to learn and reapply. It's not just one, actually. They push the boundaries every day.
Thank you. Julian and Alexandra, do you want to add some important use cases from your point of view?
I think, you know, when you said, is it awaiting implementation? I think, you know, with AI, goalposts move, don't they? So, so actually, most of us said awaiting implementation, but you're right. You know, there are many, many use cases out there already. So some of the very classical use cases in supply chains would be demand forecasting, route optimization, safety stock optimization, and so on. Those are already pervasive. So yeah, so those are some of the more, I think, traditionally used use cases. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, I'm glad that it seems like our company is building the right software tools here. So I would add three that perhaps are not, you know, that commonly covered in media. So the first one is simulation, right? So Gunter talked about root cause analysis, right? We try to figure out which patterns actually drive, for example, quality, downtime, throughput. But then you don't want to do a design of experiment in your production line. I mean, that's what's happening right now, but it's very costly. And it would be nice to be able to simulate what happens if I adjust the temperature in a machine, for example. Where is the range where I'm going to land? So this is a very interesting one. Another one is scheduling. So solving complex scheduling problems, like in oil platforms, where you have to sequence the manufacturing of the parts, is a very arduous task and often computationally not solvable. And using AI, you can train models that actually reduce the time that is needed to schedule these tasks from nonlinear runtime, so essentially exponential, to linear runtime, which I think is also very interesting. And then, of course, we have to kind of cover generative AI as well. There's a lot of hype around the topic. But what I think is a very interesting use case as well is using natural language to access information. So this is a very basic tool, but you know, having managers that can type in an interface, hey, what was my quality on this line yesterday, and you get the results immediately. So these are the three ones that I would like to add.
Okay. Thanks so much. By that, in the interest of time as well, we're going to move on to the next big thing. So, because maybe some of these things were known, but let's see what the panelists come up with next. And we start with a rapid-fire question round. I hope you're ready. Will software companies like Google and Amazon dominate future manufacturing? Eric?
They will disrupt, not dominate.
Okay. Yes or no question. Alexandra?
It'll be an ecosystem, hopefully interoperable.
Okay, we try with Gunter.
Neither nor. We will see a manufacturing ecosystem.
Manufacturing ecosystem?
No.
No, thank you, Julian. Audience, yes or no?
No.
Wow, okay. Nobody from Amazon, Google here today. Okay. Next one. Is AI the key to achieve the complete transparency and traceability in manufacturing supply chains? Julian?
It will help.
Gunter?
Shit in, shit out.
Alexandra?
It will help.
It will help, okay. And
I like to think yes.
okay. Yes or no?
Yes.
No? Yes or no? Okay, good. You don't need to agree. It's okay. We have 3 more questions. Is AI a key to achieve a fully circular manufacturing supply chain? Eric?
Yes.
Yes.
Piece of the puzzle.
Piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
Yes? And the audience?
Yes.
Oh, good. That's good news. We can do that. Will generative AI finally enable mass customization and widespread product individualization in manufacturing? Gunter?
No.
Julian?
No.
Alexandra?
No.
Eric?
No.
Some groupthink there. Okay, and the audience? Yes or no? Hey, somebody have some more progressive ideas on that front. They should maybe be up here. Look, and then we have the last question in this session. Is generative AI the most groundbreaking AI technology you have seen? Erik? That's a yes/no question. No doubt about that.
No.
Alexandra?
No.
Gunter?
Yes.
I think it's not a yes/no question. I would say yes overall, but not in manufacturing.
Okay. And the audience? Yes, no, pretty much. Okay, I think I heard a little bit more yes. Let's learn a little bit more about the next big thing. And I'd like to start with you, Julian, because I know you're working on something that I never heard about before you guys come up with it. And it's called Manufacturing Analytics System. My hunch is that it will be the first time most of the audience hear about this. And it's something you're building. What is Manufacturing Analytics System?
So we see it as a new category of software. In essence, it's a set of connected AI tools that help manufacturers achieve operational excellence. It comes on top of your existing data sources, like an MES system, an ERP system, and it helps manufacturers generate insights and automate decisions around quality, throughput, equipment availability, sustainability, worker productivity. So it's really not about using off-the-shelf tools, but it's really something that fits into your existing architecture and contextualizes the data that you already have in place. And I think that this is the key essence where it differs, because many manufacturers are working on use cases in using AI, but data is often fragmented and stored in different locations. And I think this contextualization is something that is extremely important, and that's what where a manufacturing analytics system differs, in addition to having a model layer which is also custom to this context layer.
Okay. And are most companies ready to use this?
No, I wouldn't say so. So
what do you need?
I mean, we have seen over the last years that large manufacturers, we're really talking Fortune 500 companies, have invested a lot of time and effort to get their data acquisition right. So trash in, trash out. If you have poor data, then you can have the best algorithms in the world, it won't work. So I think a solid data foundation is something that's needed, and with smaller manufacturers, we don't really see that except for very specialized high-tech industries where there can also exist small manufacturers. But talking at the more general scale, I think right now it's restricted to very large companies, but I think over the next 5 years also, let's say the German Mittelstand and others will catch up, because they also realize the potential of the data that they are perhaps already collecting, but it's still stored in their machines.
Is there anybody, companies you know, that are using functionality like this or building it? Or?
I mean, yes, we're lucky to work with several manufacturers. You wanted to cover use cases. Should we also cover them right away?
Don't have time for that.
No, so yes, there are companies already using these functionalities.
Okay, wonderful. So manufacturing analytics system. Let's see. Maybe that's the big. So we're suggesting that to solve it, the thing they need is one more software, but maybe the ring to bind them all. Is that what you're suggesting? Alexandra, let me hear from you, because you do very interesting research. She's doing something that intrigues me a lot in Cambridge. And from now we talk a lot about factories, okay? But no factory is really an island. They are connected to other factories, and we call that supply chains or supply chain networks, and that's your expertise. You recently co-authored an article published in Science, which basically talk about the need to use AI to understand supply chains, right? And I know also in a BBC article you said, I feel like the more exciting opportunities of AI in manufacturing are not going to be the factories, which is a little bit bummer for this session, but are going to come from visibility in supply chains. What can AI do for supply chain transparency?
So obviously that's a topic very dear to my heart. I've been working on that problem of supply chain transparency since about 2017. So just for the audience, supply chains are partly designed, but partly emergent constructs. So you know whom you buy from, obviously, but you don't know who they are buying from, and you very quickly lose traceability. You can ask your suppliers who they are buying from, but they won't tell you, because then it means you will cut corners perhaps for them or figure out their costs structures and so on. So there has been many different types of technologies that have been proposed to address this problem, such as RFID technology and so on, but they all require suppliers' willingness to adopt that technology. So back in 2017, we had the idea of basically predicting who supplies whom. Can we, if I know the basic minimal features of certain companies, where they are located, where their production facilities are located, what they produce, what kinds of quality certifications they have, etc. Could I actually predict who supplies whom? And then could I also plug in some holes in that problem using web scrape data and so on? And it turns out that you can. So then that kind of became a big research topic for us, which is continuing to this day. So yeah, still not completely ready yet, but it's very promising.
When will it be ready?
I'm an academic, so I'm going to need quite a few years. But there are already some commercial software companies who are claiming that that's ready to market. I would approach to that with some caution because we have difficulties in detecting relationships ending when you start a new relationship with another company or start producing something else, and you also have issues with uncertainty propagation, so you predict on predicted data and so on. So cautious, but maybe within the next 3 to 5 years we'll definitely see great improvement in this field.
I think that's fascinating. Just scraping the web and internal reports, and you can map your whole supply chain. A huge problem, particularly felt during COVID-19, when even companies like Toyota went from supplier to supplier and tried to figure out who supplies whom. So that's supply chain mapping. And then Gunter, Siemens. I mean, Siemens, you are leading the digital transformation of the leading firms in digital transformation, right, Siemens? You are everywhere. And I could ask you many questions. But there's one thing that you are talking about these days, which is industrial metaverse. And maybe not everybody else in the audience have heard about the metaverse, industrial metaverse. What's that, and how does that relate to AI?
Okay. For us at Siemens, the industrial metaverse is directly linked to the digital twin. Of course, first of all, the metaverse is a place where you can engage, where you can collaborate, and of course you can then also deep into the topics of a product. So it's a place where you can, based on the digital twin, make a deep insight of the product or the solution. You can collaborate and discuss the further development. And you can also use simulations to see the outcome and make decisions what would be then the product finally be. So that is for us the metaverse. We can also say you can simulate PLM, the product lifecycle management, and the supply chain management, and even the customer relationship management in one space. And what does it have to do with AI? Metaverse for us is a kind of further development of the digital twin, and then logically there are it is that different technologies will converge in the metaverse, and there is AI one of them. Digital twin will converge with AI, with blockchain, with IoT, with all the things you need to have this comprehensive digital twin. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, with a more immersive experience. And this is where AI comes in.
Is it science fiction, or is it already here?
For us, the digital twin is already absolutely real. And we are building partially metaverses with different companies and with institutes. I think the coral reef is a nice example where we build up a digital twin of a coral reef to see how the coral reef, by the environmental impact and of course due to human impact, is changing, and then we are going to simulate what we can do to reestablish even a coral reef.
Okay, so we heard about the industrial metaverse. Maybe that's going to be something. And then Erik, you wrote an article in the World Economic Forum news platform called Agenda. And you're talking about cybersecurity. So maybe all the things we talked about so far will be ruined by some cyber attack. Or what's your take on this?
First off, a disclaimer. I was not born digital, and I'm not a cybersecurity expert. But I've led supply chain for 3 decades, and in my last 2 roles, I was leading the supply chain digital transformation at P&G's largest sector. When I started that journey, I actually asked my stakeholders, what do you need most? And the brief I had was very different. The CEO wanted compliance, was very scared about compliance, and part of that was cybersecurity. My chief supply chain leader wanted accelerated value, savings, efficiency. And when I talked to the most important people in the supply chains, the plant managers, their number 1 priority was help me decipher the cybersecurity field because I know it's a threat. I don't know how to get protected. And twice a week, I get those corporate compliance requirements, but I don't know how to interpret that. So, and by the way, half of it is not actionable, right? So it's a bit of an introduction on why cybersecurity is bloody important for the supply chain. The second thing is you should know that cybersecurity has actually now moved to the industrial control system area as the number 1 attack zone. So manufacturing is the number 1 target since last year of all cybersecurity attacks. And another stats that you need to know is that we are now moving into not ransomware disruption, you are shutting down. We are moving into physical impact of machines with safety concerns. So with that being very clear, as a supply chain leader for the first time of my life, I was spending my brain and my partnership working on doing things for good. And suddenly I realized that I now, from within the company, I needed to get ready for the malicious use of technology to actually, disrupt our consumers, our employees, or our business. So that's a bit of a very important introduction. The connection with AI is the World Economic Forum has actually had a center for cybersecurity for many years. Every year we have actually an annual meeting that actually took place in November with 150 foremost experts in cybersecurity from government, institutions, and companies. And we have made a survey, and out of that survey, less than 1 out of 10 of those highly educated people believe that Gen AI will be used as an advantage from the manufacturing and the supply chain sector, as opposed as those who are using it in a malicious way. So if you keep that, first the stat, if you try to foresee the future, learning on the past, the trend is here. It's going exponential. If you talk to the expert and they tell you, I definitely foresee how Gen AI can actually help me improve my pen testing. Gen AI is an amazing tool in terms of education of people. It's an amazing tool in terms of connecting a vast amount of data with computing power that was never accessible before. But the problem is, flip the story, you have now put in a handheld device a computing power with a wealth of access of data to then a brain who decides whether it's going on the good side of the force, AI is a force for good, or for those of you who like the Star Wars movies, of the dark side of the force. So Gen AI, clearly, if I may conclude on that very important topic, when I started back in 2017 my digital transformation leadership journey, I needed to create a narrative for all the people that I was going to engage in that journey. And you know the famous start with the why, and you need to use the carrot and the sticks. Obviously, the carrot was, hey, here is what is going to be good for you in technology, and certainly for Gen AI and AI in terms of changing your daily life. But then the stick was, this is where you don't want to be. This is a nightmare where you don't want to be. And the mantra for that was disrupt yourself as an individual, as a team leader, as a company, or get ready to be disrupted.
Wow. So you let Procter & Gamble be disrupted. instead of becoming disrupted? I mean, you led that. You tried to lead that from inside.
So first, I mean, I was just a catalyst in all of this. I mean, number one, so it's been, and P&G continues to obviously progress with all the GLN members and, I mean, Gunter, and you talked about that article. I need to say that I actually co-authored that article with Schneider, Chief Information Security Officer. Schneider is a leading partner in you know, all the insights. But I think it's a topic where we need humility, and we need also to keep. I'm going to illustrate. You can't talk about AI like you can't talk about digital technology without contextualizing the discussion. And that's where the World Economic Forum really tries to play a big role, particularly in the AI governance alliance. Whenever you talk technology, whenever you talk AI, please keep in mind three things. The technology, which I think we need to be humble and learn. You heard the statistics, you know, everybody thinks it's important, nobody really feels equipped with that. The second part is the part that we know the most, but that we ignore the most. Human. Everybody has heard about Daniel Kahneman?
Yep.
Daniel Kahneman? System 1, System 2.
Yeah.
The essence of what Daniel Kahneman, you know, emphasized was the human society has been able to thrive with a healthy balance between System 1 and System 2. The key question left up to us is, how is Gen AI going to disrupt System 1 and System 2 balance? You can see it already today in the misinformation and how we are polarizing, you know, the brain because we are stimulating the System 1 overly, right? And the third element is the use case and the goal. Because if you recognize that AI can be a force for good, if you have all this technology available and you decide that as a leader who is privileged to know where you place your bets, and you use all that energy, for instance, to decide, you know, which Netflix movie is better fitting your needs, and I'm sorry to pick up on that, while the number one topic priority today for supply chain and manufacturing is what? Climate change, sustainability, net zero. Minus 7% is the challenge that we all as a society have to, you know, we have to decrease by 7% year on year. Now, it was 5% 2 years ago, it's now 7% because we have overshoot. 7% is the equivalent GDP of Japan. I would challenge us as leaders, how can we embrace AI and keeping that triangle, the three legs too, we embrace the technology, we use our human understanding of System 1, System 2 to prioritize the right priorities and to go all in. Go all in. And manufacturing and supply chains have a unique vantage point to actually be game changer in that sustainability area. So sorry, I went a bit beyond.
Thank you, Eric. And you also brought up the importance of human and leaders and everything that we would need to do, you would need to do. And that's a perfect transition to theme number 3, which is people in the future factory. Rapid fire questions. You ready? So the factory is Willy Wonka's dream world. But in the TV series Colony, it's a slave facility on the moon. Nobody wants to go there and work there. So are people on the front line of manufacturing better or worse off with AI? Julian?
Yes. Better.
Gunter?
Better.
Sandra?
Depends.
Okay, that's an academic answer. And Eric?
Better for those who will stay in manufacturing, but there will be fewer of them.
Audience, yes or no? Better? Better. Wow, I love an optimistic crowd. That's wonderful. B, is AI expected to create more jobs? Oh, you already answered this one. More jobs in manufacturing than it displaces? Eric?
Less.
The composition of the workforce will change, I think.
But there will be just as many people in manufacturing. Okay.
So the answer is no.
No. I need to read the question again.
Will it replace? And
so it will not replace.
Neither nor. No. So
neither nor. Flat. Okay. Stay flat.
Yeah, I agree. On par.
On par. Okay. So will there be more jobs in the future in manufacturing, or less?
Less. Different jobs.
Yeah, it's very clear. They say less. You say same. Okay. Is there a risk that manufacturers might become overly dependent on AI, potentially leading to a loss of critical skills and knowledge? Eric?
Absolutely.
Alexandra?
Dampening of skills, yeah.
Okay, less, yeah. Gunter?
Yes, it will happen.
Julian?
Yes.
Audience? So you all think that there's a big risk, and might then therefore happen, that we become dependent on AI and become dumber. Okay, that's not such an optimistic crowd after all. Is the AI revolution in manufacturing good news for developing countries? Julian?
Yes.
It should.
Yeah.
Yes.
Audience?
Yes.
Some people think not. We hope we should be, but I think we need to create that. Will AI enable the self-aware, lights-out factory you mentioned already, Erik, within this decade? Julian?
No.
Gunter?
You can always make the light out.
You mean close the factory?
Exactly.
Alexandra?
No, not completely.
Erik?
No.
Not this decade.
Not this decade. Audience, will we see lights-out factories at scale in this decade?
Yes.
Wow, that's a mix. So we have very interesting discussions over the apero afterwards. How you define it? No light. That's a lights-out factory. Maybe people work with night cameras. Gunter, this is going to go to you. Huh? People are at the core of digital transformation. I think we all agree. At least it's a common slogan. Huh? But with people, do we mean engineers?
When we talk about, at least I talk for Siemens, when we talk about people here at the core, we really mean everyone. So of course the frontline workers will participate and also benefit from the introduction of AI. As when we are looking in our workforce and we are having, and I mean really the factories which we are having in Germany and in another European countries or in the US, where the skilled labor is really getting scarce and rare, and we are not getting them. We need to get AI tools into the factories. And then there is a second, the demographic challenge what we have, especially in the European countries. So our workforce is getting older, and of course we are facing them more risk to physical and psychological, let's say, harms, because during their lifespan. And with AI, with the introduction of AI, we have the possibility to de-stress and to help them to fulfill their responsibilities on their daily job. And the third thing is, when I look into the past, we are introducing technologies on a much faster pace than what we have seen 10 years ago. So this additionally needs that we have to continuously update and reskill, or at least to introduce the new technologies to our workforce. And here, of course, AI will have an important role.
Will Siemens employ shop floor workers in 2030?
If we have factories still, yes. I mean,
don't buy Siemens stock. Don't buy Siemens.
No, the question is the question is. I see a paradoxon, of course, of introducing this technology, and this is with with automation and with digitalization. We saw it, and we will also see it with the introduction of AI. So the more you're getting automated, digitized, and also you introduce AI, the more experts you need in the factories, because if there is a failure or a breakdown, you need to up and running, and this means who is still on the top of the whole system. So here you need, of course, people who oversee or which are integrated into the system. And this is why you say the frontline workers, as you call them, or the engineers. I mean, I think in the past we will not differentiate anymore. It will be augmented workforce or however. But yes, we will have people that the job profile will change. And they will be supported by AI, yes.
Alexandra, what's your perspective on supply chain jobs? Will they change? Will AI take over that as well?
Take over, no, but there will be more and more a need for skilled digital workforce in supply chains. AI has already been helping in many supply chain functions since many years already, so the transition isn't too drastic. in my opinion. But I think where we will see issues is when tension arises between algorithmic decision making and human decision making, when there is a misalignment between the two, and that will be especially in cases where human tacit knowledge that can't be encoded. Such as supplier selection is one example, for instance. Do I listen to the algorithm, or do I listen to my intuition and my experience with my suppliers? So as AI moves from the factory floor to more kind of white collar jobs, I think we will see tensions such as this arising, which needs to be managed by effective organizational governance as well as regulation.
And question is then if the human will dare to overrule the AI algorithm, or...
Yeah, I think it very much depends on the human, depends on the organizational culture. It might also be a case of, it might be tempting to allow decisions to be outsourced to the AI as well, because then the responsibility remains with the AI. Yeah, so lots of interesting conversations, I think, that needs to happen at the organizational level with the white collar workforce.
Julian, where's people in your MIS vision? Are you augmenting or automating jobs?
I think it's both. So there are many manufacturing tasks that should not be done by humans. We, for example, talked about visual inspection. That's something that should be automated, because people doing these jobs are not, let's say, human creativity and human skills are not used in this job. It's highly repetitive, people get tired, people make mistakes. And I think in that case, we will see automation. But I would like to see this as a point improvement. So automation is always about improving some process. And I think the high ROI cases are the ones where we augment people, experts. So we also talked about the topic of root cause analysis, for example, trying to figure out how should I adjust parameters in a machine. And any algorithm in the world works based on correlations. So they try to learn from the data, and it might pick up trends that are just spurious. And I think this is where human expertise can help the algorithm to learn more meaningful results. And this is where the human capability is extended by the algorithms that can find patterns in data where the human brain has not the capability to visualize this nonlinearity and high complexity. But the human might know a lot about physics, for example, and might inform the AI about certain things that are a known truth. And by that, the AI system can learn better. And these are the use cases that I'm particularly excited about, because these are the high impact cases.
I think just to pick up on what you've said, going back to this misalignment question, the role of causal AI and explainability are going to be key in determining that outcome. So, yeah.
I also would like to build on that. I mean, when we are introducing AI into our factories or into our organization, first of all, we have a strategy, and then we have a process, and then we have a quality assurance. And that's very important. And there's also people coming into place. When we are talking about AI, we need to make sure that it is safe for the people, physically, mentally, and that there is, of course, that it is secure from the data aspect, cyber secure. And then, of course, it needs to be ethical, correct, so no discrimination. And then, of course, we need to check that if the outcome what the AI generates is still that what we are expecting and intending to do, and we need to have right from the beginning a quality assurance in place, so it must be explainable, so that at the end still, of course, you can step in and reverse or whatever it needs to be done. So that is our strategy, how we are introducing, and we have seen that with this strategy, we get a great buy-in also with our people.
Wow.
Because
so human is actually at the center of your AI vision from all people. Erik, you're going to get your one-line punch about human as well. I just want to prepare the audience after Erik's brilliant sentence. You're going to have the opportunity to ask questions to the panelists. So we have time for 2-3 questions. Please, this is an opportunity. Please take it. Erik.
I'm an ongoing student on everything, particularly on AI. I feel like I'm drinking through a fire hose. I get tons of new learnings every day, and I would like to share with you 2 stats. and one remarkable inspirational example that I learned yesterday. So the two stats actually are more than yesterday. First, the IMF has published their latest report, and their estimate is that 40% of all worldwide jobs are going to be affected by AI. You may agree, disagree, it gives you an order of magnitude. Second report, PricewaterhouseCoopers just published last week a remarkable report, granular, which makes you remember that we are not born equal and you cannot treat every sector the same, and they are breaking down their best estimate in terms of what are going to be the loss and the gain on AI. Guess where manufacturing is? It's the heaviest loss, minus 25. You may agree or disagree with it. I'm just sharing with you those two stats. Now, if you are an academic, if you are a supply chain leader, if you are an institutional leader, the key question is, so what? If we all recognize it needs to be human-centric and it's bloody important, disrupt yourself or you are going to get disrupted, so what? One of the things we did back in 2017 when I started to lead the digital transformation was to put very quick reverse mentoring for the leaders of companies that have no brain space, they are not very well equipped in terms of understanding. So we got, the Gen Y and millennials helping, accelerate their learnings. Qualcomm CEO actually explained that he actually booked a full week of learning for his executive team. But the most inspiring example that I got was yesterday. I was watching one of the few but very powerful broadcasts available from the sessions that most of us can't access there. It was absolutely fascinating. It's called Is AI the steam power of the fourth industrial revolution? There were one representative from the US Senate, there was a minister from the EAU, and then there were 3 CEOs, one from Accenture and 2 others from IBM and Qualcomm. The Minister of State of EAU has been in place since 2017. He's leading the digital transformation and artificial intelligence. So the first thing is, he's in place since 2017. He's still the same. Second insights, they have developed an educational program with one of the leading universities, and they have sent all their leading governmental leaders to actually be trained and actually be qualified. They just got qualified last month. Okay? It's worth what it is worth, but they recognize the need to be trained. Third, they have actually introduced, as of grade 5, coding as part of the school, and as part of grade 9, artificial intelligence, including the rules of ethics, and a key message, which is making students and kids comfortable with the fact that they are going to be lifelong learners because Gen AI is going to be one of these disruptors. Third, they have put a push-pull system on SMS sent to all the citizens of EAU, preparing an educational, friendly, safe onboarding journey on AI that people can click on and learn for themselves and experiment. Already 180,000 people have taken it. When you hear that, this is the kind of game-changing, bold actions that academic, government, leaders need to take now, not tomorrow. Because that is really the key to keep the human at heart of that transformation.
Thank you, Eric. That's a wonderful summary of what we've been talking about. And of course, the audience is here because they're willing to learn. And we have some questions as well. So the gentleman over here, you have to use that one, please.
Oh, yes, I'm Adi Winkler. I'm running Austria's first business ethics institute. Mr. Beitinger, you mentioned ethical rules for AI in factories. Which rules would you figure out for AI in general and for AI in factories in particular?
Which rules?
Yes.
So can you reframe again the question? Which rules?
Which ethical rules? You mentioned ethical rules must be considered.
Yeah, of course.
Using AI. And which rules?
The introduction of AI should not be allow any discrimination. They should be safe for the people who are using them physically and mentally. And of course, we should not be able that the produced output should be unexplainable, at least for the people who are going to use that. That is what we are using. We have, by the way, audited our introduction of our AI strategy by the TÜV Süd, so that we can see where our blind spots are. And we had a really good result at the end, how we are introducing it. So.
if you allow me to jump in, I think this is exactly the kind of topic where the World Economic Forum is trying to create that unique public partner academic coalition, because it's not something that one company, one country, one corporation can solve on their own. So since June 2023, the World Economic Forum has launched the AI Governance Alliance. 250 members from leading academics, companies, and governments are there, and we are talking, from everywhere. So not just the Meta, the Google, and the Microsoft, but also, by the way, EAU said that they are developing their whole LLM, right? They are not relying on OpenAI. So through that, you really need to keep then few principles. First, educate yourself on what are the risks. 3 types of risks, at least. Number one, I would say the typical glitch you have in any digital tool. So the bias and the hallucination phenomena that I think most of us know, right? So the system was properly trained, but for some reason there is a glitch, right? And it spits out something which is wrong. The second element is data pollution. Who said crap in, crap out? Okay? If people think that Gen AI is always going to be the right answer, particularly if you seed the wrong data, I don't know how many of you have heard about Nightshade. So Nightshade is actually an application developed by the University of Chicago, which actually can be used as a force for good to actually pollute the data in an image or in an artwork from an artist to prevent copying, right? But if you just get the concept from a scientific point of view, you get the fact that someone can use the same data pollution. So that's the second thing. The third element is you don't need to pollute the data, but just the misuse of Gen AI, and the number one thing we see is obviously the misuse in terms of misinformation. The last element, and I would like to call out somebody else in the room in a positive way, Valérie Piririn from Capgemini here today. She's the lead of Sustainability AI. They are doing an outstanding job in terms of frugal AI. Why the heck would we consume the superpower computer to solve significant small things? We need to compartmentalize and right-size the computing power of AI so that if you need Gen AI for a company, or you don't need to consume too much. If you start consuming too much of power, you are moving from the famous 2.5% of greenhouse gas emission driven by data, moving quickly all the way up to 7%. We are going to create a problem by trying to solve another one. So we don't have the specific answer, but through those coalitions, it's really about partnership, coalition, again, public, corporate, and institutional governance.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have bad news and good news. Which one do you want first? Let's take the bad. The session is over. That's about. No time for more questions. But the good news, there's an apéro, and this panel will be there for some of the time at least. Please approach them, ask your questions, and talk with everybody else. This room is full of ideas and knowledge about AI manufacturing. Thank you for coming. Thanks for the panel.